Hello, and welcome to the System Development Lifecycle. Okay, now that we've gotten through a little bit about analysis and understanding what analysis is, a little bit about what a business is, and a little bit about what software is used and how technology is used in business, it's time to start talking about how we implement technology in business. That's what pretty much what this course is all about. I've kind of taken my time to lead you up to this point so that we start talking about this and start making a little bit more sense. That's what all the previous uh, lectures and assignments were all about. Okay, so when I talk about implementing, basically what we're talking about is what you're going to be doing as a professional when you get into the industry. We just don't sit down and start coding arbitrarily. There's a process, and this process is basically to understand the problem, research the problem, and analyze the problem and come up with a solution. It's not as straight and narrow as you might think. It requires a lot of questioning and a lot of making sure what we're thinking and what your users thinking, meaning your customers thinking, really are on the same page so that when we get down the line and we get to the point of implementation, everybody's on the same page and we can be successful. Our goal here is to be successful the first time. To help us do that, we go through what's called a system development lifecycle. So we're going to talk about that in this particular video. We're going to talk about the phases of the system development lifecycle, and we're going to talk about some of the methodologies, meaning how do people implement the system development lifecycle. All of this from a pretty high level in this video, and then in the subsequent weeks coming forward, or the future weeks coming forward, I should say, we'll kind of dive into these a little bit more detail. All right, let's get started. The system development lifecycle, I have pulled quite a few different, definitions that I found around the web to try to explain this. So let's see if a couple here fit. The system development lifecycle is composed of a number of clearly defined and distinct work phases, which are used by systems engineers and systems developers to plan for, design, build, test, and deliver information systems. That's pretty much it. If you notice the plan for, design, build, test, and deliver, those are really what we're trying to do. It doesn't get any more difficult than this. There's nothing earth-shattering about the system development lifecycle. It's just a plan to get us there. Or not really a plan, it's steps to get us where we need to get to as successfully on budget and so on. All right, let's look at another one. The software development lifecycle is a long-term view of software as a product, from initial planning through maintenance, and eventually retirement of the completed application. That takes us pretty far. I mean, from some applications never retire. But so the system development lifecycle takes us through all the maintenance and the enhancements also, at least some renditions of it, I should say. When I say renditions, there's quite a few renditions of the system development lifecycle. We're going to focus on the main ones that really are very common among all. Like I said, some take us all the way to maintenance, some don't. It's all how you look at it and how authors of books and so on interpret it. The system development lifecycle is the software development world's spell check. It can flag errors in software creation before they're discovered at a much higher cost in successive stages. That's why we walk through this, that the system development lifecycle is something if we walk through it and do it well, we can ensure we can be successful. We can find potential risk and problems early on that could potentially have caused failure or more expense later on in implementation. So what we want to do is make sure if we walk through the steps, we address these early so they don't become problems. But it's much more than that, of course. System development lifecycle can always be it can also lay out a plan for getting everything right the first time and on budget and on time. It's not really easy to get everything right the first time and on budget and on time, but that's sort of the goal. That's what we want to do. And this plan, this system development lifecycle, once again, if followed, gives us the best opportunity to do so. If done right, it can allow the highest level of management control and documentation. Developers understand what they should build and why. That's big. If they understand why they're building things, if they get to that point and we're actually implementing, they know what they're doing, why they're doing it, and so on. So everybody has clear communication And that's really key to anything, right, in life. Clear communication and expectations. All parties agree on the goal up front and see a clear plan for arriving at that goal. Everyone understands the costs and the resources required. Kind of getting the idea? Basically, we're just planning up front. We're making sure we understand what everybody wants, and then based upon that, we're all moving forward in unison. There are some pitfalls that can turn the SDLC implementation to a more of a roadblock. Failure to take into account of the needs of the customers and all the users and stakeholders can result in poor understanding of the system's requirements at the onset. So what do we mean by that? If you don't respect each phase and you don't do the work that's necessary in each phase, and you do things like, oh, I just know what you want. I'm an IT professional. I just know what you want. And trust me, I've seen that a lot in industry when I worked in industry. Usually, and what it ends up with is failure because it's not our product. We're writing the product for a customer. It's their product. Whatever they want is what we want to give them. It's our job to help them understand what they want. That's the key here. That's the analytical key we're looking for. Sometimes they don't know what they want. They'll just say a blanket statement to you. I want you to automate my office. What does that mean? They go, I don't know. I need your help to figure that out and determine the priorities. So with that said, we need to respect the phases of the system development lifecycle to ensure that we can be successful. Another roadblock could be we overanalyze. We just keep analyzing and analyzing and analyzing and analyzing. The term is called paralysis by analysis, and we never get to the development piece of it, and we never get anything done. And all the next thing you know, a year's gone by. I've actually been part of that before. A year or two's gone by, and we haven't gotten out of the analytical phase. That's a problem also. So anyway, there's some things we're going to look at to help us offset both of these type of situations as we move forward. All right. So that final bullet point, the benefits of the SDLC only exist if the plan is followed faithfully. All right. Hopefully that kind of defines what this system development lifecycle is all about. Now let's talk about the phases of the system development lifecycle. Based on what you read, there are either 4, 5, 6, 7 phases that make up the system development lifecycle. Once again, nobody agrees with anything in the industry. I hope you're starting to understand that. How to program in some cases, how to design databases in some cases, and the same thing with development of systems. But as you'll see here, when we look at the phases, here's one with 7 phases: planning, analysis, design, development, testing, implementation, and maintenance. That's the 7-phase view. Let's kind of look at, here's a 6-phase view: plan, analyze, design, develop, implement and test, and maintain. What do they do here? Well, they kind of combine implement and test. A 4-phase piece here, or 5-phase, I'm sorry, piece here: planning, analysis, design, implementation, and then maintenance. And it's constantly circling around. So in this case, implementation incorporated the development, testing, and implementation of the system. This is the one I kind of look at, and for the most part, what we're going to focus on is this one, the 5 phases. However, for this course, we're really going to look at the 4 phases that are in white. And so maintenance, again, maintenance is actually after it's implemented, how do we continue on to enhance it, maintain it, keep it up, and those types of things as the system, ages and becomes mature. What we're going to focus on in this particular class is going to be more the development, the initial development of the application. So we'll talk about the planning phase, the analysis phase, the design phase, and the implementation phase. So once again, even though people kind of look at it from different perspectives, that's okay. And if you actually look at this, everybody's very consistent on the first 3 phases, aren't they? Planning, analysis, design. Plan, analysis, design. Plan, analysis, design. So it's usually the implementation piece on how you break that up. All right? Make sense? And again, we're going to dive into more detail on what each one of these phases actually mean. All right? This is pretty much repeating what I just said. Regardless of how many phases, we're always doing these 4 things. For this class, we'll focus on these phases only. Okay? Methodologies. What do I mean by that? Well, IT people in general are always trying to find a better way, even in their implementation of systems. So we're always trying to find better ways to implement technology to help our customers, and we're always trying to find better ways of doing the implementation, I should say. But what do you mean better way? What I mean is this: how to do it quicker, faster, right the first time. What's the best way? There really is no one best way. It's just a lot of people's approaches to it and different ideas about it. This is the methodologies, the method of which we actually go about the system development lifecycle. Some of these that you may have heard about, maybe you haven't, but basically these are the different methodologies: agile, lean, waterfall, iterative, I'm sorry, I can't talk this morning, spiral, and DevOps. These are some of the ones that are actually out there. The ones that we're going to focus on in a couple weeks and actually compare a little bit will be waterfall and agile. And then the rest of this course, we'll really start talking about agile, as it seems to be the one that's really gripped the industry right now, and ones that our employers want you to know more about. All right? But we're going to discuss a few of these in the coming weeks, and again, we're going to focus on agile. I always get a little bit ahead of myself in these videos, but you get the idea. All right, so for now, let's begin discussing the 4 phases that makes up the development of a piece of software. And in doing that, that's the next set of videos, and we will see you then.